Winning season has officially returned, and with the NCAA back in action, plenty of opportunities to win at MyBookie. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or a first-timer, MyBookie gets you the most for your money with a double deposit bonus up to $1,000. To claim your bonus, sign up and use promo code TRANSFER on your first deposit, and you'll instantly double your money with MyBookie. It's simple. $100 deposit puts $200 in your account. You can use your funds to bet on as many individual games, contests, or props as you want. Bet on team win totals, predict the national championship winner, or use the MyBookie prop builder to give yourself the edge you need to secure the bag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Hello and welcome to, I think this is the fourth episode of the Transfer Portal CFB Gambling Podcast. We're on a week 2 now. Got a little bit of a weird slate. I'm Dave. I'm joined by Andrew, and Matt. How are you doing, guys?
Terrible. I hate gambling.
Yeah, and you,
Dave, I somewhat owe you an apology because that Thursday night game last week, I came on here being super confident on Aiden O'Connell, which that loss was not on him per se. I blame it more on the fumble that happened in the second quarter. But Purdue has officially made my no bet list for 2022. I rescind my bet. I wish I could go to the casino, rescind my plus 600 Purdue to win the Big Ten West. I rescind any claim that I made defending Purdue. I rescind them finishing second in the Big Ten West in our preview in the preseason. I am done with Purdue. I am done with Jeff Brom. I am done with competition, the Big Ten West. They're canceled. They're just straight up canceled.
that was rough, especially with that half a point with the 3.5. Penn State won by 4. Jeff Brom completely mismatched that game. Penn State,
that fourth quarter, he deserves to be to Guantanamo. He deserves to be in Guantanamo for that fourth quarter, by the way.
Kept throwing the ball. O'Connell looked good. They just that Penn State kind of figured him out where he just was throwing underneath.
They were able to neutralize him. That's what they were able to do.
Yeah. Well, I hit my Penn State money line bet. Thank God. That would have been embarrassing if I lost that juice. I went 10-6, but I lost my lock and I got murdered on TikTok.
Yeah.
You ain't the only one that lost your lock. Trust me.
That was
Wait, Matt, did you win your luck?
I didn't hit a bet last week.
Yeah, did you go 1-6?
I missed everything.
I hit my lock. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Screw you, Colorado.
Leading the board right now. You're 7-1 or something.
My no bet list is rapidly growing. It's going to be the entire FBS by the time the year's over. We're on our way.
Yeah.
FCS ball is good to bet on, though.
It is.
Hey, you know what? Shout out an FCS team on South Dakota State doing more than just covering against Iowa. So applause to all plus 20.5 bettors. A me. Hit that. Shout out
The
to
total
SMU.
didn't even hit. Oh, yeah, sorry.
No,
Yeah,
did the first half total even hit?
The first half, I don't know if the first quarter total hit.
That was a rough one.
Because the total was 44.5. So the first quarter was probably like 10 or 11. So I don't know that the first quarter total hit.
It was not fun.
So we're on a week 2.
9-leg parlay hit.
It did it. That was it plus 155 though or something?
It was plus 192. Give me some credit.
That's better. I first thought it was like plus 125. You got another one in store, which we'll talk about later.
Of course.
Yeah, we're on week 2 now. The slate, the board. I mean, I looked in the board. I didn't like it at first, and I came out with like 10 to 12 plays. I have like 10 that are official right now, so we'll go down that. Kicking us off on Friday, Matt, you would play for Louisville UCF.
I have Louisville plus 6.5. Louisville was not ready to play last week. Malik Cunningham played probably what was the worst game of his entire 5-year career as a starter at Louisville. I don't think that is what Malik Cunningham is. He's someone I bet to win the Heisman this year, or not to win, but someone I put money on that he can have an outside shot at it. They had 6 drives go inside Syracuse 40 and came away with 7 points, 1 touchdown from those drives. So I expect that offense to do better than that. And I don't think the UCF offense is going to put up that many points against Louisville. So I think Louisville is going to be able to cover this with ease. I think they're going to get some positive regression in terms of finishing drives. I don't think 7 points off 6 drives in scoring range is something that's going to be consistent. I think they're going to be able to cover the touchdown spread.
Yeah, you need to win, my friend. So hopefully that'll start your week off right with Malik. Yeah, he didn't look great against Syracuse. They shut him down essentially. But I think he'll be better this week. There's only 2. Not Friday, a little bit disappointing with that. That'll be a fine game, I think. Boise, New Mexico, not going to touch. That's kind of a snoozer that I'll just throw on later. Saturday, there are just tons and tons of games on Saturday. I've missed it. We're in the thick of it now. Let's start off with maybe, I don't know if you can call it the most intriguing game of the noon slate, but it's going to be the one that's the most watched across the country, Bama and Texas. I think that Bama's going to crush them, obviously, but I'm going to stay away from the 20, and I did it last week. I took Bama first half. I'm staying with Bama first half. It's at 12.5 right now. They'll be up, I think, way more than 2 touchdowns at half. I think they could be up 3 touchdowns at half. So I'm going to just start my day off, wake up, have a coffee, start off 1-0 with Bama first half minus 12.5.
Yeah,
I'm on Bama first half.
Bama looked dominant last week, and Texas looked all right. Like they had a fine game. They did what they were supposed to do, but they didn't look like they
played ULM. About 100 teams out of 131 will look good against ULM.
Yeah. And then moving on, let's go to Miami Southern Miss.
I have Miami minus 25 here. A lot of teams have let me down this year. Miami did not. Miami is the team I bet on to be in the CFP, to win the ACC, to win the ACC Coastal. I bet on them to do a lot this year, and they looked every bit the part, putting up 70 last year. Granted, they were playing Bethune-Cookman, which is that's what you're going to do. But it's not like Southern Miss is a far reach from Bethune-Cookman. And the offense looks a lot more balanced under Gaddis. They ran the ball for 300 times. They were up 70. They put up 70, and that was with Tyler Van Dyke on the bench for most of the second half. And I like the backup, Jake Garcia. He's a 4-star freshman. He looked good, and I think that kind of neutralizes the possibility of a backdoor cover. So say he gets in, you don't want him throwing a pick 6, and all of a sudden they only win by 21. This doesn't hit. He looked good. He threw 7 for 7 for 88 yards. He looked really good out there. So I think Miami's going to crush Southern Miss. I think they probably win by 30-35.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the backup looked good. That's always the problem with these games, a backdoor cover. I mean, I got Central Michigan last week on a backdoor cover because Oklahoma State just decided to stop playing defense when they were up 30, and that helped me out a lot. That's always a worry. I do trust their backup. I'm just going to talk about the Penn State game real quick because, again, I have to address the elephant in the room that is Ohio football, Penn State's going to win this game. The line opened at 24. Now it's moving 25.5. I want to take it. I'm probably going to take it. I'm not going to make an official play, but I think Penn State, I think they're going to, I'm afraid to say it on the podcast that they're going to stomp them because what if they lose and I'm screwed?
You're not losing Ohio, man.
Penn State will win the game. I don't know if they'll cover. It's not going to be official, but I do like the 20. I'd buy it down to 25. It's a 25.5 right now. I always buy the half points, like I say. I just think that we're going to see a lot of Drew Aller too in the second half. He's going to torch that secondary. Ohio's going to, I think, obviously Penn State's defense is better than FAU's defense, which really, I think FAU got 1 stop in the second half of that game, and it's in my nightmares. But yeah, Penn State's going to win big. Let's move on to Arkansas State, Ohio State. That spread's way too big, I think.
No. I was intrigued. I tried to look at a first quarter. I tried to look at a half. Nothing. There's absolutely nothing that does it for me on that one.
I mean, I'm sure people will take Arkansas State with the 45. I could definitely see people doing that, but a little bit too early for me to be throwing around Arkansas State at noon.
Stroud didn't look great without JSN in there.
Yeah.
You know what this game is? This game is a hangover bet. This is the type of bet that you look at, you realize you spent too much money at the bar last night, and you're like, I could bet money on this game to try and get some of that back. Tip the bartender about $100. Let's try to win that 100 back.
If it's at 3:30, I'm probably gonna do it because I'll be a couple light beverages in at 3:30 because I gotta start my day early. But yeah, that's gonna noon's not the right time to bet that game. Yeah, so let's move on to South Carolina at Arkansas, which is a very, very intriguing game. I know you guys have some thoughts.
Yeah, I'll go first on this one. I love the over. Arkansas should have lost to Cincinnati if they had a quarterback that could throw a deep ball. And that just showed that their secondary was just inept. I love South Carolina to be able to throw the ball. If they can protect Rattler better than they did last week, I love that total to go over. And we know how Arkansas's total kind of went over last week. It was a little bit disappointing if you had the under because there was just not much defense in that second half.
Yeah, I like the play for sure. I think Rattler is a much better quarterback. It was Bryant, right? Is the Cincinnati quarterback? Yeah.
He doesn't deserve to be mentioned.
Yeah, he was awful. He missed so many deep balls, dude. They were cooking that secondary. Yeah, and
it was awful.
I don't get how Evan Prater was not the starter for Cincinnati going into that game. He should have been the starter.
Pickle's going off experience, so I understand that aspect. But at the end of the day, you got to take the guy that gives you the best chance to win, and I don't think it was Prater.
I don't know. At the same time, I don't exactly put a whole lot of stock on somebody who was just at Eastern Michigan.
Well, he was also previously at the Cincinnati program.
Yeah, he was previously at Cincinnati, but then he left because he wasn't good enough, but he was good enough for Eastern Michigan.
To be fair, I don't know how many quarterbacks that Cincinnati could have gotten would have been better than Desmond Ridder.
I don't think any, honestly. He's the best quarterback we'll ever have.
Caleb Williams in the transfer portal.
That would have been a heck of a move. Caleb Williams, just an ultimate power move, goes to the group of 5.
Wake Forest, Vandy, that line shot up when I'm so happy Sam Hartman's back. That's just great for the sport. And the ACC preview, man, I was so high.
It saves your 11-win prediction.
Yeah, now I'm back. I'm back, baby, with my 11-win Wake Forest team. I think Sam Hartman's gonna come out guns blazing in this game. I no official play for me, but you know what? I'm gonna make it official. I'm taking Wake Forest with the 13. I think they just blow Vanderbilt out. I think they're gonna be amped up. And Vanderbilt looked fine the first 2 games, but live on the pod, I'm taking Wake Forest with the 13.
Yeah, I like the spread there for Wake Forest, even with the jump up. I was looking at it before, and now I'm pissed I didn't bet it before the Sam Hartman news. Yeah. But I still think they beat him by 2 touchdowns. Vandy's been a nice story over the first two weeks of the season, but I think that's probably going to end here. They're going to start struggling now.
They also played Hawaii and Elon, so
yeah. Oh,
put a little stock in that.
Mizzou K-State. That's a very interesting line. I believe you guys are on Mizzou K-State play, correct?
Me, I most certainly am. I take K-State -5 first half against Missouri. There's 2 words why I'm going for K-State on this one. Deuce Vaughn. I think Deuce Vaughn, he played really well last week whenever K-State was playing, whenever they beat South Dakota. All right, look, we get it. All right. State would have been more impressive. But I'm a huge fan of Deuce Vaughn. I think this Kansas State's one of those teams that can make small moves in the Big 12 waves. Adrian Martinez doesn't even have to do much. If he just runs, K-State's still in a really, really good spot. I like Deuce a lot. Mizzou, sure, they beat Louisiana Tech, but that's a Louisiana Tech team that's not that good. I think this is one of those games where if K-State can keep running the ball with Deuce Vaughn, then they can extend the clock. They can get more possession. I think they're gonna get that 7-point lead at halftime. If you look at the official sports books, it's 3.5 for K-State first half, but I'm deciding to sell a couple points, go up to that -5, gets me to I believe it was -106 compared to -170 to what it was before. I love just tacking on the 1.5 points there. I am very confident that K-State will beat Mizzou. That's historically had one of the worst defenses in the country.
I like the play. Moving on. Next game on the slate, Minnesota, Western Illinois. That's I'm sure you're confident, Andrew. Andrew's throwing Minnesota against Western Illinois, but I don't know if that's a play. Is there a line on that yet? Have you seen one?
I think I've seen 38.5 or 39.
Yes.
So
big old number.
Yeah, if they do what they did against New Mexico State, yeah, they'll beat them because Western Illinois is not going to be able to stop the run.
Yeah, I don't think they'll score either. And then Northwestern, I don't think we have any plays in that. That's a weird-ass game where Northwestern's getting 10. Staying far, far away from that game. I don't even want it on my TV. After that, we got UNC Georgia State, which I have a play in. I'll give you my reasoning. I have the over. I think it's at 65 right now. It opened up at 67 and moved down. I'm going to take the 65 just because we watched UNC's defense last week. We watched UNC's defense 2 weeks ago. It's not good. And Georgia State, I think, has a solid enough offense where they can put up points. And Drake May for North Carolina is a stud. He's been, you could say, one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen. Obviously, it's only 2 weeks in, but he hasn't played any defenses, but he looks great. I think he'll light up Georgia State. I think Georgia State will be able to put points. Give me the over 65. I could see UNC putting up 45 and Georgia State putting up 28, which will get us there. I'm on the over for that.
Georgia State should be able to at least run.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know that UNC can stop anyone from putting up 3 touchdowns. So I think that should hit pretty easily.
Yeah. Next game, Texas San Antonio and Army, both starting off 0-1, looking for their first win. What do you guys think?
Absolutely love the over of 54.5. I am in love with it. I saw it. I was like, do these guys even know how UTSA played last week? This is going to be a very unorthodox game, but like watching UTSA's defense up in personal last week, it got really porous towards the fourth quarter. I think that was when Clayton 2 was finally allowed to like open up and spread the defense a little bit. I think Army, they can spread a lot of space on that UTSA, especially on the outside. Army, they got torched for 38 points last week against Coastal. That was a Coastal offense that lost their top 3 wide receivers from last year. I think both of these defenses are just really porous right now. I think both these teams are going to crack 30 with these.
Yeah.
Also, Frank Harris, got to shout out Frank Harris. He balled out last week. I think he was at like 330 yards last week. And, Zachary Franklin and Joshua Stephens, who, after seeing him, I can honestly say he's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the country right now. Both those guys combined got 200 yards, over 200 yards. I absolutely love the play for both teams.
Yeah, they played into you could say the 2 best group of 5 games that were on last week. UTSA, they got tired late, I think, and Clayton Tune was able to run the ball. And then Army, all they do is run the ball. So I think that over is definitely enticing, and I do like it. Moving on, NC State Charleston Southern, no bet. South Alabama, Central Michigan, Fun Belt against Maction. I'm repping the MAC right here, as I will week in and week out. Originally this line came out. I think Central Michigan was 3.5, and they moved to 5 now. That kind of spooked me because, again, the FAU game is living in my nightmares, and 4 points is scary. 5 points is a little scary. It's just a weird 4-5, which is weird. And I don't know if Central Michigan's defense is good enough to cover the 5. The offense is prolific. Daniel Richardson and Lou Nichols are awesome, but South Alabama can also put up points. That's why I'm pivoting to over 59. South Alabama doesn't have the same offense Oklahoma State does. Obviously, Spencer Sanders had his maybe best offensive output ever on Saturday. But yeah, I'm taking over 59. I think both these teams. It's on ESPN Plus. It's gonna be on my laptop. Fun Belt Action. You gotta take the over one of those games, and over 59 for me.
When in doubt, bet the over.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know if you guys have caught on for a trend, but I will never take an under unless it's like a huge. It's a Big Ten game like Northwestern and Illinois. That's the only time I'll ever touch one. I'm just overs all year, and that's one of a couple I'm gonna play. I think that's my second one already so far, and I'm gonna keep playing a couple more. Looking at the board now, Utah, Southern Utah, nothing. Temple Lafayette, nothing. Western Michigan, Ball State, another Maction game. Intriguing. The touchdown scares me. Gonna stay away. I feel like you guys feel the same because that's another weird game, especially if it's on a Saturday afternoon. Tuesday night, over. Saturday afternoon, I'm gonna stay away from it. Marshall, Notre Dame, though, I don't have a play. I have a lean. I kind of want to buy Marshall up to 21, and I'm leaning that way just because I know Marshall's good in the Sun Belt. Notre Dame, their offense, they're not playing Ohio State. They're playing Marshall. but I don't know if they can put up the points and try to like take this game and like blow Marshall out. I don't know. It just seemed like they're gonna be defensive oriented, and they'll win obviously, but I could see them winning by 17. I'm leaning Marshall. I don't think you guys have any thoughts on that one.
The only thing that would scare me off that is Rasheen Ali's still out, right?
Yes.
She's out for the year. Yeah. So
I'm off Marshall.
That would be what would scare me off that one because he's a stud. I really liked him last year, so him being out scares me. But other than that, Notre Dame offense definitely didn't look prolific last week.
Did not. Yeah, I was kind of talking about the lean, trying to get you guys to talk me into it, but you've done even better. You talked me off it. So yeah, I'm off that game now. Moving down, Clemson, Furman, App State, Texas A&M is one of the more intriguing games on this board. I think. 3:30 at Kyle Field. App State showed they can put up points. Their defense showed that they can let up a lot of points. What do you guys think about this one? Texas A&M is at 19 right now.
What's the total now?
Let's find out. I think it's 50 and 54 it's at.
54?
So,
wow. I think I like that. I think I like you over there.
Yeah.
The thing that would
I think Texas A&M looked fine on offense last week, and App State obviously it looked like they can put up numbers. So I just need them to put up 21 and Texas A&M to put up 35, and I'll get there. So I think that'll happen pretty easily.
Yeah, I do like that. Now that you say it, Andrew, so what were you gonna say?
I was gonna actually go the opposite. A&M's defense is kind of getting a little slept on, and UNC, we know how Swiss their defense is. I do like App State on offense. Obviously, Noel and Peoples are going to be the highlight, but A&M, that's a different animal than UNC. I think A&M is going to be good on offense, especially against App State's defense if they play like they did against UNC. But that's a game where I'll talk about it a little bit later because I actually do have a play. It's just alted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your little teaser, which we'll get to later. Yeah, I mean, I think Matt, you bring up a good point. All the guys who put up 3 touchdowns, but then playing at home in their stadium at Boone where you had 10,000 people over capacity than they should have had, and then playing on the road at Kyle Field is 2 different animals. I might go. We'll see. I might day of play the over. I don't know. That's a super intriguing game, and I'm glad that it's on ESPN too. Next
We're
game,
talking about Haynes King for a second, though. I mean, that dude, he hit 360 yards last week. He did throw 2 picks, but he did have 3 touchdowns. That's the same Houston FCS team, but that's a same Houston team that's always among the top in the FCS. How much more stock do we buy into a performance going from Sam Houston to App State? Because if he at least plays well, and if Devon Chain and if Anai Smith, if they can help spread the field for Haynes King on offense, I think that over can hit with ease, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, you said he threw for 360 plus 3 touchdowns. The 2 picks were not great, but again, let's see what did Drake May throw against them?
Insanity.
Year? Yeah, let's.
Could have. I think it was like 500 yards.
Yeah, he threw for 352 and 4 touchdowns. Yeah, I think he ran. How many rushing yards did he have? He had 76 rushing yards. So he had almost 500 yards.
And Haynes King is a dual threat guy himself too. We got to remember that.
So they could. The issue. I don't think the issue is Texas A&M putting up the points. It would then be with Chase Bryce and App State putting up points, which I think they can do. They just need 3 touchdowns, and if it's a blowout, we could get a back door here. So I'm kind of talking myself into the over, but I mean, if Drake May can do it, Haynes King can do it for sure.
Can I rebuttal for a second?
Yeah.
I of course, if you guys have it on the over, I want the over to hit. Haynes King was not impressive last week. Like we can look at the stats all we want. I mean, even Jake himself, the Texas A&M fan, he said he wasn't impressive. One of his picks that he threw was literally just, why would you ever throw that into triple coverage? I don't know why he threw that. Hopefully he does improve. I mean, maybe it's just week 1 jitters. He didn't look too impressive at the beginning of last year before his injury. But yeah, it's an App State defense. It still should be good enough for A&M to put up a decent amount of points. And also A-Chain needs to be better. A-Chain was awful last week. He averaged 2 yards a carry.
Now I'm excited for this game, even if I don't have anything. I'm just lots of storylines we're creating in our minds here. At the same time, on ABC, you just flip over. We got Tennessee Pitt. With this 3:30 slate, by the way, is absolutely stacked. There's so many good games. But yeah, let's get to Tennessee Pitt if somebody wants to kick that off.
Tennessee. Look, I rewatched the Pitt game. Pat Narduzzi, wow, we just went from the Mark Whipple offense, which was so aggressive, Kenny Pickett throwing it to Jordan Addison, and just absolutely electricity all across Heinz Field. Now it's like Acrisure or something. You know what? Maybe the name change is going to ruin them. But that conservative play calling against West Virginia almost lost them the game. If it wasn't for the wide receiver essentially just having the ball go straight through his hands and just letting the ball float away into a pick six, West Virginia probably ends up winning that game. I freaking love Tennessee to be aggressive out the gate. Hendon Hooker's going to start off hot. They're going to take a 14-0 lead. And you know what Pat Narduzzi's going to be like? He's going to be like, you know what? We need to control the time of possession, go back into the I form, go to what we know. And you know what? Maybe we won't lose by 20. Because that's how he's going to play. If he goes down early, he's going to play to not get blown out. I'm that confident. I love Tennessee. I love their run defense. If Pitt does go into the run, they're not going to be able to run effectively. I love the 6.5 with Tennessee.
I like the 6.5, and I have the over here as my official play, because like while Pitt did look kind of molasses in the first half, once they got down against West Virginia, they picked up their pace. I think they went from like 2 plays a minute to like 2.5. So once they got down, they picked up their pace. And obviously we know Tennessee has one of the highest paces in the country. They had the most plays per minute last year, and they were up near the top this year. And the scary thing about this for Pitt's defense is their front seven was one of the best in the country last year. They got gashed by West Virginia to like 5.5 yards a carry. And that's only going to get worse with the dual threat of Hendon Hooker out there. So I like Tennessee to put up a lot of points this game. And once they get down, I think Slovis is competent enough to throw the ball around and put some points on the board. But I think Tennessee is going to put up 50 or 60 this game. I think they're going to put up a lot on this Pitt defense.
That Pitt secondary is yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew losing Damari Mathis was going to be big. I didn't think it'd be that big. Like, that was bad.
Yeah, I haven't looked at what the number is, but I like Cedric Tillman on Prize Picks, whatever the number is. They don't have anyone that can cover him.
Just lob it up.
Yeah, because that's what West Virginia did. They just had big receivers and they threw it up to their big receivers, and none of their big receivers are anywhere close to the caliber of Cedric Tillman.
Yeah, I love that play.
Yeah, I'm getting talked into it myself because I really do think it's ABC. Everyone's going to have this on, bars watching it on TV. People are going to flip to it. This is going to be the Hendon Hooker game. If you don't know Hendon Hooker, you will after this game. I think he's going to be incredible. Yeah, what were you going to say?
One more thing. Tennessee is butthurt after that loss last year. A lot of people think Tennessee should have won that game. As someone who's a big Kenny Pickett fan, I didn't want them to win that game, but they probably should have won that game. They're going to remember what happened, and they are going to take it to Pitt. They're going to make sure that they realize we're the better team.
I completely agree. And that ranking, for sure. They're 24 now. They're ranked now. They'll be shooting right up after they beat Pitt.
Especially, why is Pitt 17? Like,
yeah, they were 17 last week.
They did not look great last week.
Oh, yeah. That's just off merit from last year.
That was a West Virginia. I mean, I had the 7.5. Thank God I had that half point. I know, Matt, you also had the half point, but the other way. West Virginia choked that one away. Andrew, I think you're on Wisconsin Wazoo, right? You've got to play there.
Welcome to the FBS Cameron Ward is what I've got to say. You go up against the toughest defense from last year, the number one total defense from last year. This is going to be brutal for Cam Ward. Wisconsin, listen, they got a shutout against an FCS team last week in Illinois State. Okay, it's FCS, it's Illinois State, but Cam Ward was not impressive against another FCS team last week against Idaho. It took until the third and fourth quarters for him to pick it up. I'm going to pick Wisconsin minus 9.5 for the first half, and that's all I'm going with this game because Wisconsin right now is a team that's built to only dominate first halves and not the whole game. This is what bit me in the Las Vegas Bowl last season was knowing that they were going to run the ball down Wazoo's throat. Wazoo has among the worst run defense from last year. I'm not buying any stock to how they did against Idaho last week. I think Braylon Allen, I think he's going to go in there. I think he's going to have 140 yards by halftime. Graham Mertz was, granted, it's still Illinois State. He still only had 2 incompletions last week. So I think Chris just wants him to have a game manager. Right now, Wazoo as a whole, this is not a knock on Cameron Ward, but just that Wazoo team in general last week against Idaho was not impressive at all. You go into a hostile atmosphere in Wisconsin and Camp Randall. They're doing their stripe out for this game. This is just a brutal awakening for Cameron Ward to play an FBS team.
Yeah, that's going to be. I was surprised that Cam Ward did not look as good as we're a Cam Ward affiliated group. We love Cam Ward, and he didn't look too hot. Yeah, I think the first half is definitely safer than the game because, like you said, Wisconsin's going to ground and pound the Cougars to death, and yeah, I could see that happening for sure.
When I saw the line, I think it first opened up at -17 for Wisconsin. Last time I checked it, it went up to -20. I saw the -20, and I am not touching that. Wisconsin's not a team that's going to try to blow people away through the air. They're just going to try and run as many times as they can on the ground. Braylon's probably going to be pulled out of the game in the third quarter. And then you're going to start seeing guys like Isaac Garendo, Julius Davis, guys that most people on here have never even heard of. And they're just going to be straight chilling. That's how they let Arizona State cover last year in the bowl game.
It's right at 17.5, by the way, right now.
Yeah, I think it's been jumping around. Next game. Again, we got another great game. This one's on CBS. Oh, it's not really going to be a great game, but I want to talk about it a little bit later. Air Force in Colorado. Air Force is 17.5 right now. Yeah, that's a little preview for what I'm going to bring up later. And I'm scared about it. I love the play. But
Don't be.
Scared.
Don't be.
A little scared. Yeah,
Don't be.
of rushing yards we're in store for. All right, we'll talk about Air Force Colorado later in the show. Memphis Navy, no touch. Me no like any of either of those teams. And then since he kind of saw State, nothing. Maryland, Charlotte. I do have a play. I'm taking Maryland. They're up. I think they're giving 27. They'll cover. I think relatively, not super easily. I think it could be a sweat towards the end, but I mean Charlotte just they have not looked good the past. Yeah, and then like Maryland has, you could say, the best receiving core in the country, one of, and Talia Tagovailoa didn't look great against Buffalo, but I think this is the game where they're going to showcase how good they can be, that group. And I don't know if Charlotte's going to. I don't even know if Chris Reynolds is playing. He's been hurt. If no Reynolds, I like to play even more with Reynolds. I still like it. They lost to 30 by my good friends, the FAU Owls. They lost to William and Mary last week by 17, which was tough. And I think they lose to Maryland by like 40-ish, 45, I could say.
Yeah, that Charlotte defense is brutal to watch. This is a get-right game for Maryland for sure.
Yeah, they were not impressive against Buffalo. Talia, I almost said Tua. Talia didn't even throw a touchdown, which was the most surprising thing because I thought they'd be able to just air it out. I mean, Talia with that wide receiver room, what the heck are you doing not throwing a touchdown against Buffalo? It's Buffalo.
Yeah, they're going to bounce back this week. I'm looking forward to it. That's probably my second favorite play on my card. Moving down, Georgia-Sanford. Georgia's going to beat Sanford by 80. I don't even know what the spread is, but that's what's going to happen.
Sanford has a good record against SEC teams in the last 20 months.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, well, against the spread at least.
Yeah.
Out of Florida.
Michigan State, that's going to be a no. I mean, Michigan State, I just sweat out Michigan State against Western Michigan last Friday. And I'm not even touching Michigan State. Akron's not good, but it's the 35 is scary.
Peyton Thorne, sorry.
No, go. What do you say about
Peyton Thorne pulled his best Evan Stewart impression, or Evan Prater, because he was overthrowing. He overthrew 3 touchdowns in that first quarter. Shout out Peyton Thorne for ruining my parlay, because if he would have thrown one more touchdown, my over would have hit, and I would have hit that parlay. So if I cussed, I would give you the birds, but screw you.
Yeah, it was a backdoor cover 2 against Western Michigan. And I don't want to have to sweat on another Michigan State MAC game. It's not worth it. I already got enough to worry about. And then moving on.
One more thing on that Michigan State team. They just lost one of their best linebackers and their starting safety.
Nothing.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, take that as you will. And
Maybe
by
Akron
take that
upsets. Who knows? That'd be awesome. Would never
If
happen.
if Akron goes to overtime with St. Francis, PA, and then beats Michigan State, you know what? College football, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. And 4 o'clock, 3:30. Again, we got Houston, Texas Tech. I think it's gonna be a great game. I know, Andrew. I know you have some thoughts on that. I'll just start off real quick. I'm taking the points. I'm afraid I'm taking the 3. Money line a little spooky to me. I had them 4 against UTSA. And then I was like, yeah, you know what? At half, I took them live plus 140 on the money line. Caught that because Clayton Tune showed up in overtime and in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I'm taking the 3. I think they can win it. But, Andrew, let's kick it to you.
Houston money line, I got it at plus 125. This is a game that I think the Cougars are truthfully, they're on the prowl for blood right now. This was a game last year that they absolutely choked. They had a 21-7 lead in that game against Tech in the season opener last season. They just came back from a 21-7 deficit against UTSA. And as far as I'm concerned, there should be a new phrasing in college football: death taxes and shootouts in Lubbock. Not just the money line versus Tech. I'm going with the first half over. It just feels so much safer than going for the 64, I believe it's at now. Both these offenses, Donovan Smith getting 220 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 of them were in his first 2 passes. I would probably not touch this first half over if Tyler Show was playing. Now that Donovan Smith's in it, I am 100% in on this, 31.5. I think Clayton Tune, he's built a really good repertoire with 2 newcomers, Matthew Golden and Joseph Manjack. Joseph Manjack caught the game-tying touchdown in that fourth quarter against UTSA last week. I think Dana's finally going to let he's finally going to let the playbook open up for Clayton Tune in this game. Houston's offensive line does concern me, but Texas Tech has nowhere near the pass rushers that UTSA did. So I think Clayton Tune's going to be a little bit more safer going to this week. I love this first half over. I think it's going to be like a 24-20 at halftime. This is just going to be an old-fashioned Wild West shootout, and I'm more than happy. It's going to be guns blazing the whole game.
Do we get any word on Tech's QB? Is he playing or what's?
It's Donovan.
It's Donovan. Tyler Show's going to be out for at least 2 weeks.
All right.
Which I think is good for Tech.
I think that'll be a great game. The first, you love your first half plays. You love them. Halves, quarters. You.
I do. I really do, because you got to take a look at how some of these teams play. And I feel like whenever a game goes on in Lubbock, once it starts, it's on always. And it could either mean Texas Tech's getting blown out. It could be a back and forth game. This is, I love first halves and I love first quarters because I like getting my money early.
UNLV Cal is the next game. That's also on at 4. I don't think a lot of people are looking into this game, but it's not on TV. I don't think you can stream it anywhere. You're gonna have to find it somewhere on Eastream or something. I think it's gonna be
one of those pay-per-view websites.
On the upset show, I think UNLV has a shot to beat Cal outright. They're 13-point dogs. I think they're like plus 390, around plus 400 on the money line. But that's not the play I'm going to give out. I'm going to give out the over at 49. So UNLV is coming off a bye week against Idaho State. They ran the ball really well. Doug Brumfield looked like he was a stud against Idaho State. And Cal's defense, their offense looked good. Jade Knott is going to be a complete game changer for them. I think he's a great quarterback. Plummer was effective, but their defense let up 387 yards against FCS UC Davis. That's not something you want to do in your opener. They only let up 13 points. They had a pick 6. Yeah, but against UNLV, you could say, hopefully it's electric this week, but Brumfield's really good. And 49 is it's too enticing to me to not take. And I think that game goes over. I think it's going to be a great game. UNLV could pull out an upset. It's going to be close till the fourth quarter. But yeah, give me over 49 in UNLV Cal.
I like that.
And Iowa State, Iowa. This could be the exact opposite of what I think UNLV Cal is going to be. I think we either all have plays in this one or most of us do. Let's start it off because I know who I like in this game.
Give me Iowa State money line. I can't believe they're plus money.
Yep, I'm in the same boat, dude. It's Yeah. Oh,
Iowa looked.
But this is scary. This is scary. We said the
Yeah.
exact same thing. We said the exact same thing for Utah, Florida. We couldn't believe that, that some of the Utah plays were plus money. We couldn't believe that that a lot of the Illinois plays against Indiana last week were plus money. This honestly feels like a death trap. And I don't know if it's because it's at Kinnick. I don't know if it's because Iowa State doesn't know how to play against Iowa for the last 8 years. This is just, on paper, Iowa State should be favored by like 6.5 against a team that didn't even score a touchdown last week and yet still got 7 points. But I am not touching this game with an 8-foot pole because I came so close to betting Iowa State plus 3.5, but I just can't because this just has trap written all over it.
yeah. Sorry, let's go. While it's fresh in my head and I don't stutter or anything. You were right about that. Like Utah, all these Utah, Illinois were like, why is this like this? Why is this like this? Why are we getting plus money? Why are we getting these great odds on these teams? We didn't watch those teams play yet. We watched Iowa play football, and that offense is awful. Petras can't move the ball. It's gonna be a slow game. It's gonna be really, really ugly. But I don't think Petras can, maybe they score a touchdown. I just think that Iowa State's going to score at least 2. They're going to score 17 points and they'll win 17-7. I think the 3.5 is respect to Kinnick. I don't think you can make it less than 3.5. And I'm sure Iowa fans are hammering this line, which is why it's staying where it is. I just think Iowa State plus 3.5. And I'm taking the 3.5 and the money line just because I have no faith in Iowa, and I could be wrong, but I just think that they're awful. Andrew, go.
Yeah, I was going to say they're getting the 3 points because of Kinnick. I think that Vegas views these teams as equal, and I kind of agree. Iowa, for how anemic they are on offense, and that's not even a strong enough adjective, they have one of the best defenses. At least they performed like it. Jack Campbell is a freaking maniac at linebacker. Not only did he get the safety, he was just moving around the field against South Dakota State, which, by the way, we talk about how bad Iowa was on offense. We do need to respect South Dakota State on defense. They played the same style of defense, and South Dakota State was prepared for it the entire way. They played very well. We got to remember it's a Power 5 team going up against an FCS team, even though Spencer Petras had a 1.1 QBR, which I'm pretty sure if one of us lined up, we might have a higher QBR than 1.1. It's still FCS versus Power 5. We have to respect that. With that being said, I have an alt play on this. I'm not touching this spread with a 17-foot pole because I do agree with Andrew. This is very trappy.
Oh, yeah.
Hunter Deckers is a bit of a question mark. He looked very good last week, but at the same time, it was
Southeast Missouri State. Yeah. That's what it was.
Right. They're fine.
It's like you're going from Southeast Missouri State to Iowa.
Yeah.
I legitimately would not be surprised if Iowa covered, but the only reason why they got that cover was because of a defensive touchdown. Exactly.
Oh, that I don't know if this is the thing I can bet. I would put so much responsible units on Iowa to get a defensive/special teams touchdown.
You can bet it. I'll go find the odds for you right now. You can definitely bet
if it's on my bookie of the
promo code transfer, by the way.
Yep. Promo code transfer. You probably saw it in this video. And if not, what the heck?
I have a little graphic right underneath.
Yep. Somewhere on this screen. Promo code transfer. Double deposit.
I got to plug it. I'm going to get ads in next week. We'll figure it out.
Oh, we have I recorded a ad read.
Oh, you did? Let's go.
Yeah. But I freaking love. I'll say right now, I do have a parlay. I'll talk about it later. I have an alt under 51.5 just because I was going to pull some garbage on defense. Hunter Deckers, if he doesn't throw a pick and doesn't turn the ball over, I like Iowa State to win. If he does, I like Iowa to win, cover, get a defensive touchdown.
So not yet, but I saw last week for sure. It was like plus 225 for a defensive touchdown.
That's insane. So that's insane.
It's around the same odd this week. We do the same thing. Yeah, but I have officially I have the under and the Iowa State money line here. I just don't think either of these teams are going to be able to score on offense. Iowa put up 3 offensive points last week.
What's the total point total right now? Is like 44
40.5.
40.5.
Yeah, 40.
That's just
40.5.
You're banking on one of those teams to at least score 20. I don't know how that's possible.
I think it's possible if you get a defensive touchdown for Iowa.
That's the only way.
But the thing is, can Iowa State score 20?
No.
I don't know if Iowa State can score 20 unless they get a pick. And Spencer Petras, as bad as he is,
we need to
doesn't
find
draw too
out.
many picks.
Can we? I was just kidding. Can we put a same game parlay of Iowa to get a defensive touchdown, but also bet the under at the same time? I would love to know what those odds are.
You can't guarantee many things in life, but you can pretty much guarantee Spencer Petras is going to turn the ball over at some point during this game. I know Deckers could definitely throw a pick. It could even be a pick six, but it's Petras. I think I said Petrus before, but I don't know how this guy's still the starting quarterback. You can't get anybody. You can't get anybody.
Okay, hold up.
To do it.
So I'm going to go on a small rant. I try and pull my bias aside for a second. I'm going to talk about the Minnesota-Iowa game. They put in Padilla last year, who's their backup, who I believe is a mobile Petrus. And, of course, that's the reason they beat Minnesota. I don't know why they don't put in Padilla or Padilla. I don't know how to say his name because he doesn't play.
Andrew, what was that? You want the under and a defensive touchdown? You want under and a pick?
Yes. Under and defensive touchdown, whatever they may be.
Team scoring props. Let's see. No, I don't think it's the game props. This is a great radio right here. All right.
Yeah, make sure there's no dead air.
I think that I'm glad we spent time on that game because that to me is the most intriguing game on the board just because of we watched Iowa play last week on pretty much prime. A lot of people were watching that game, I'd say, and people hated that game. Personally, I loved it. And I just getting the 3.5 is because of Kinnick. I understand staying away from it. I'm just on Iowa State. If I'm trapped again, I'm trapped again. And Vegas got me good again, but I like the Cyclones in the money line.
Anybody that knows me knows that I love defensive Midwest football. So that South Dakota State Iowa game last week was probably my favorite game played last week. That was not named UTSA U of H.
And this game could very well be the same. But we talked your ears off about Iowa State, Iowa. Let's move on to UVA, Illinois. That game's also these 4 o'clock games are good too. This whole slate for 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock. We got some good games going. There's gonna be like 6-7 games I think we have plays in at this time. But yeah, UVA, Illinois.
Are we
UVA
holding our
plus
locks
4.5 and go?
Yeah, let's hold locks till the end. We'll
okay.
Do that.
My lock is in this game. I don't want to say what it is, so I don't want to give analysis.
Well, you could have just said it and not say the word lock at all.
Well, I mean, Dave also said his lock is in Air Force, Colorado.
Yeah, we'll just do it later.
Yeah.
Matt, you have a play in this? I think UVA, Illinois. No, was it?
I like UVA plus 4.5, but
yeah, I do too. I think Brennan Armstrong is great.
Brennan Armstrong's great, and glorified Danny DeVito, Penguin from Batman, whoever's quarterback over at Illinois.
Yeah, he's the old Syracuse quarterback. He's terrible.
Yep.
And
sorry, Jack Mack. I didn't mean to say that he sucks. I apologize. What a lame tweet that was.
And that's kind of the main reason why I don't know why Illinois is getting the favoritism in this game, especially after you just lost to Indiana last week. Granted, they got screwed on that game anyways. But I think UVA is the better team. I think they're the better offense in this game. I just don't know why Illinois is getting the favoritism. Then again, is this another trap game that we keep slipping ourselves into? This is just one where it just literally does not make sense. Plus 4.5. You're telling me that this game would still be in Illinois' favor, even if it was in Virginia? Give me a break. Give me that plus 4.5 all day long.
Well, if they're giving the 3 points, it would be in favor of Virginia because you take away the 3 from Illinois and add it to Virginia. But I know what you mean.
Yeah. No.
So then a bunch of these other 4 o'clock games are all FCS games. So I'm going to jump to just real quick. I just want to Incarnate Word Nevada. Incarnate Word's going to win that game. If you can get that money line. I know it's going to be small. It's Liam's upset, but yeah, take Incarnate Word. That's a play for sure.
It's dang near pick 'em.
Yeah. And let's
like
jump
+1.
to all right. Then we're gonna go back. We're gonna go down to 7 o'clock because 4, 5 o'clock. Other than those 4 o'clock games we brought up, the 5 o'clock games, it's all a bunch of like Kansas, West Virginia. We don't have anything in. East Carolina, Old Dominion will be a good game. No plays though. And then it's a bunch of FCS schools. So then I'm gonna jump real quick to Kent State, Oklahoma. I had the Kent State over last week against Washington. I think it was at 62. Whatever it was at, it hit relatively easily. I think it hit end of the third quarter, maybe early fourth quarter. And I'm back on this over. This over is a lot bigger. I think I saw it. It opened at 67. Now it's at 71. I'm on the over 71. My reasoning for the Kent State over stay the same. Until it bites me in the ass, I'm going to stick with it. Could very well be this week, but they have a great offense. I think Oklahoma will obviously shut them down. They only scored 20 points against Washington, but they'll score 3 touchdowns, I think, in this game, especially in garbage time. Oklahoma is going to run up the score against Kent State to prove that their offense is what people think it can be. It's going to be a fun game to watch. ESPN Plus. Hopefully Colin Schlee looks better than he did against Washington, just for my sake and my Kent State Golden Flash takes sake. I'm on the over 71, and then the primetime game on ESPN, 7:00, Kentucky, Florida, which is also very intriguing.
That's a weird game, man. That's a weird game because Florida, after last week, they played such a great game, and then they get Kentucky coming in, who beat them last year in Kentucky. So this could be like a revenge game, but this could also be a letdown spot for Florida. Emotions running high after that level of a win, but at the same time, you've got a conference opponent coming in that you're angry at after that game last year, which was freaking electric. I want to say that was the game Waka Flocka Flame was headlining, and I don't know.
Yeah, I said it's an intriguing game, and then I looked down at what I wrote down on all our cards, what I have compiled, and none of us have a play in this. No. So I guess that's how intriguing it is that none of us even have a play in it. Wow, it jumped to 6 now. Florida's at 6. That's a little, I don't know. I'm staying away from it. I think it's going to be a great game to watch, maybe catch something live. I think if Florida goes down early, take them on the money line live, because I think they'll come back and win that game. But I'm going to be hunting live for that game for sure.
Yeah.
And then Syracuse, UConn, no. UMass Toledo, I had on my card originally, and I knocked it off because I realized UMass can't score, and Toledo is getting 28.5. DeQuan Finn's awesome, but that's too big of a spread for me for Toledo. And then we'll jump all the way down to USC Stanford at 7:30. That USC is going to crush them, but Liam has Stanford to win in that upset video that's going to be out. But yeah, I think Matt, you could play in USC Stanford, right?
I have the over here. The spread has been bet down to where it's in single digits now. It opened at 12 or 13. It's been bet down. I've seen it at 8.5, 9.5, and that kind of intrigues me. I have the over here just because USC's defense is not good. They scored 3 defensive touchdowns last week. They still allowed 14 points to Rice, which no Power 5 team should allow 14 points to Rice. So, and Stanford is obviously a much more competent offense. They're going to be able to – Stanford's comfortable getting in a shootout. So I think both these teams are going to score a lot of points, and USC's offense looked borderline unstoppable, obviously, against Rice. But they looked really good last week. I think they're going to be able to move the ball easily against Stanford, and Stanford's going to move it right back the other way. It's a big number. I think it's up 66.5, but I could see USC putting up 50, Stanford putting up 3 touchdowns to get 50-21, and this covers easily. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I think USC is going to put up tons of – so, what's the total you said, 66?
It's 66.5, 67.5.
Yeah, so their team total is got to be hovering around 40 then for that game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's massive. I think they can do it too. Let's move down. Oklahoma State's an intriguing game, but we have no plays on it. I just think Oklahoma State's going to smash them. And then this is my second to last play of the card. I think I've given it. I don't even know how many plays I'm running out. This is 9 or 10 or whatever. I'm on Georgia State to cover 24 against Nebraska because
Georgia Southern, you mean?
Georgia Southern, sorry.
Yeah.
Read it wrong. Georgia Southern. Apologies. I had Georgia State beating South Carolina last week in the upset video, and they lost. Georgia Southern against Nebraska, covering 24. Thank you for correcting me. Clay Helton is the Georgia Southern head coach now, and he has kind of pivoted them to where they're throwing the ball more. They still run the ball a ton, but they have Buffalo transfer Kyle Ventrese, and he's super
lit
solid.
up.
He was pretty solid at Buffalo. Nebraska's, come on, you can't cover it against North Dakota. I don't know what Scott Frost just doesn't know how to coach at all. I don't know what the deal is there. But yeah, you're giving me 24. I think Georgia Southern's going to be able to score some points. I don't think Nebraska's going to be able to run away with it because, as they've proven year in and year out, they can't run away with games. And Georgia Southern 24, that's my play.
I also got to play on this game. I got Georgia Southern +7 in the first quarter. The first quarter is where Nebraska looked at their absolute worst against North Dakota last week. That's one of the main reasons why I'm going for Georgia Southern in this first quarter at their +7. It sounds like kind of insane to think about that. Kyle Van Treese, the Buffalo transfer, is the best quarterback that Nebraska is going to face up to this point. It's also just kind of insane to think about, but it really is. I mean, he threw for 367 yards last week against, was it Morgan State? I think it was. But at the end of the day, why should I put less stock into Georgia Southern than I would with North Dakota? You know what I mean? Like, Nebraska, they played horrible in that first half. Georgia Southern is good enough to keep up with Nebraska, even if they end up getting in a shootout. I expect Georgia Southern to keep this close, even since in the early beginning of this game. I love the +24, but I also even love the +7 in the first quarter, just in general.
I can't wait for Nebraska to start getting into conference play and start getting smashed like they deserve to be.
Oh, I would not be shocked. And even though these two teams aren't great, even though one of them has a conference win, which still feels weird, I think they split against Rutgers and Indiana. They have to. They're just not good enough to stick with anybody right now. In fact, I don't know who they play first. I think they play Rutgers first at Piscataway, maybe.
Yeah, they do.
But
I'm trying to get I'm going to get a press pass for that and sit in the box. That's what I want to do.
Happy for you, but also I'm so sorry you have to watch Nebraska football because last week, I think we need to realize Nebraska, yes, they're going to be okay on offense. Casey Thompson's turning into Adrian Martinez. Like, I don't know what it is, but they can't stop the run. They actually cannot stop the run. It's insane. Like, and I know I'm saying like a lot. North Dakota covered last week because they broke off a massive run in the second half. They were able to get 3 points out of it because they couldn't, punch it in the red zone. And that 3 points was the reason that it was like a 21-point game instead of a 24-point game. And spread, I want to say it was 23 and a half.
Yeah, I think it was around there for sure. And Georgia, they can't stop the run. Georgia Southern known for running the ball. And I think Van Treese is going to run some reads, some play actions like he did at Buffalo. He almost beat me. I think he was the quarterback when Penn State played Buffalo, and Buffalo, I think, was beating them at half, and that was really tough, but they won. So thank God they did. Yeah, Georgia Southern +24 and then +7 in the first quarter. We're gonna go. None of us have a play in this, obviously, as we shouldn't. But Michigan being a 51-point favorite against Hawaii is the best thing I've seen on a board in a long time, and they could legitimately cover it.
My lock is in this game, so we'll get back to that. My lock is.
All right, we'll get to that. I didn't even know. So moving down the board, BC, Vatech not touching. More FCS schools. Baylor, BYU, I don't have a play in. I don't think anyone has a play in that, but that's just going to be a good old-fashioned game in Provo. I think Baylor wins, though.
I like BYU.
Yeah,
Provo's a tough place to play, man. It's a tough place to play.
They're all so nice there.
This game's a glorified holy war, to be honest.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's just a little bit different, but it is to an extent. But I'm worried about Baylor's loss of production. Shapen looked good last week. Granted, it's Albany. You got to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, they smoked Albany, but it's Albany.
Yeah, I mean, Baylor, they lost WR1, RB1, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, their top two safeties, top linebacker. I want to say they were bottom 20 in FBS when it comes to returning production. I'm really worried how that affects them going into a Provo team, very experienced BYU team, very well coached BYU team at BYU.
All right, looks like you changed my mind. Now I like BYU, but no play. Yeah, I think, again, you're right. Provo it's just a weird place to play. I forgot which quarterback said it. It was an old ex-USC quarterback. And he said that Provo's the weirdest place to play because they're just these nerdy Mormons yelling at you. And usually you get drunk fans yelling at you. And he was like, it was weird because I think they meant it. And it kind of hurt my feelings. But yeah.
Up on Diet Coke.
Yeah, they're all hopped up on their sodies. Andrew, sir, I think you got to play for us in Fresno State, Oregon State, however.
It's Oregon State. As someone who's born in the state of Oregon, I can say it's Oregon.
Apologies.
I have Fresno State money line. I would also take the -1. Yeah, this is just such an offensively talented team. Jake Hainer, Jalen Moreno Cropper, I should say. They didn't start off very well against Cal Poly. They won, I want to say 31-7, and the spread was upwards of 40. Oregon State was very unimpressive in the second half against Boise State, a Boise State team that really shouldn't have been in the game, and Oregon State kind of let them back in. I love Fresno State to just dominate them offensively. Oregon State's got a good offensive line, but I don't know how much they're going to be able to move the ball. I like Fresno State's secondary. I love Fresno State to win this game at home.
Yeah, I'm also on the Fresno State money line because of one man, and his name is Jake Hainer. I love
Who
Jake.
would be a Heisman candidate.
Yeah, he would be. That I watched into that Fresno State Cal Poly game, and it was weird because Fresno State was moving the ball. They just weren't scoring. It was like Hainer looked really good. They just couldn't punch it in. Yeah, I like Fresno. I'm going to be on Fresno probably all year. I'm a big Jake Hainer guy. And then the last game, which is it's going to be such a fun game, 11 p.m. Eastern on FS1, Mississippi State, Arizona. I'm on the over for this one. I thought it'd be higher than 62. It's at 62 right now. I'm on over 62. Arizona can move the ball against San Diego State pretty much at will last week. Jacob Cowing looks like an absolute beast. And Mississippi State's air raid, it's Mike Leach, and Will Rogers look very impressive. This is just going to be a fun night game where I'm either going to be like, yeah, I'll take the over because I've won my plays, or oh my God, I need to make my money back. I'm taking the over. I just can't see this game not going over because their defense, Mississippi State's defense is fine. It's a SEC defense. You could tell me it just means more that their defenses are always incredible. Mississippi State defense, they're more focused on offense this year. Like Mike Leach always is. And Arizona's going to put up points. 62, I could see this game ending like 35-31, 45-38. It's going to be Mississippi State's getting 10. Arizona could win outright. We'll see, but there's going to be a lot of points in this one. And that's the board from us. We'll have all our plays compiled and everything later in the week. And now we're on to the parlay teaser corner. And Drewster, if you want to kick us off with your teaser.
All right.
For the weekend.
It's kind of a teaser, but it's all like different lines. I didn't do like a 7-point teaser. This is a 10-leg parlay. This is
an alt line parlay.
Yes, it is an alt line, 10-leg, throw a dart and hope it lands on the triple 20. So we're going Air Force -6.5. I think they cover that with ease. Boise State -3.5. I got a shockingly good odds seeing that they're 17-point favorites. Penn State -12.5. Dave, don't be that worried with 12.5. Notre Dame -6.5. I think Marshall loses too much with Rasheen Ali, and I think Notre Dame's defense is too good. I have A&M -3.5 against App State. Under 51.5 in Cyhawk because I was going to pull some voodoo out of their butt and have some weird defensive touchdown. UTEP -4.5. Hardison doesn't look very good, but they've got two very talented wide receivers. I love Tyron Smith. They should be able to do something against New Mexico State. South Carolina +14.5. I think they could win outright. I see no way Arkansas beats them by more than 2 touchdowns. Wazoo, Wisconsin, alt under 53.5. I do agree with Andrew. Cam Ward is probably going to have a tough time, especially with that pass rush. I also don't know how much Wisconsin is going to throw the ball. I think they're going to try and play time of possession with Braylon Allen.
Highly doubt it.
Once they're up like 27 something, I like that under. And then Syracuse alt -12.5 against UConn. It's UConn. And that is plus, I want to say, if I double check my phone, plus
11, I believe.
I think it's 1140 or something you sent us, something like that.
It is plus 1143, and I have a half unit on that. So
that's a fun one. Love an alt line parlay. And yeah. Andrew, you can't lose parlay. You're 1-0 on those. You got another one for us?
Absolutely. This one has a bit of a higher odd to it. The vast majority of this are money lines, and I got 2 alt lines to it, so I'll go start on it. Northwestern versus Duke. I think Duke is one of the worst teams among all Power 5 teams, maybe next to like the likes of Colorado. I think they're that bad. I don't know what you had them for their win total, but I don't see them getting more than 2 wins this season. I think Northwestern, I think they're doing a little bit. I think they're doing pretty well. They're doing really well. I don't think they're going to do that much in the Big Ten, but they match up against Duke really well. I think Northwestern wins this at Ryan Field with ease. They're currently 10-point favorite, but I only need the money line. Boise State money line versus New Mexico. Don't even need to touch that, to be honest. I took an alt line with this next game. Alabama -9.5 versus Texas. I know what you said about me liking first halves almost more than I like full games. But the reason why I'm going to Alabama minus 9.5 for the full game is because Texas absolutely stinks it up in the second half. I've seen games where Alabama starts off first half slow, but then in the third quarters and fourth quarters, they really turn it up. I think them winning by 10 points is impossible to not hit. Wake Forest money line versus Vanderbilt. Sam Harton, unleash the playbook. That's all I got to say on that one. Notre Dame money line versus Marshall. There's defense is just way too good on Notre Dame. Rasheen Ali, huge loss for Marshall. There's no way Marshall is going to overcome that. Air Force money line versus Colorado. Give me a fucking break, to be honest with you. Texas A&M money line versus App State. I just think Texas A&M's front seven right now is too strong for App State to keep it close with the Aggies. Nebraska money line versus Georgia Southern. This one, I am honestly more worried about this one than that specific game than any other one. But Nebraska, they did keep it up at the second half. They probably won't cover, but they'll win by, I'd say, around 10. And then this next one's a bit of an odd one. USC plus 6.5. So all I need is for Stanford to not win by a touchdown, and I am safe. Whenever I submitted this in, I think this was at like plus 360.
A little bit more juice on that can't lose parlay. I do like it.
I do have a multiple this week, so I do have a parlay. I have my wake up to some bread parlay. So you guys have been saying 12 a.m. for the early games. I'm West Coast, so it's 9 a.m. for me. So it's less likely that I'm up. So I have two first halves for the 9 a.m.s that I'm probably going to wake up to. I have Miami to cover 13.5 and Alabama to cover 12.5. So both teams win by 2 touchdowns in the first half. I have that. They're both minus 110. So this is plus 260. That is my wake up to some bread parlay.
I like that. It's a good name. Good old fashioned 2-legger. Now I wish I had a parlay. I'm the only one that doesn't have one. I'll cook one up next week. All right. It's time for our locks. I guess I'll start and I'll dress the room. Embarrassing. Just an absolutely embarrassing performance last week by me. 10-6, doesn't matter if the one play is going on the internet being seen by 50,000 plus. People are still watching that video, by the way, and making fun of it. It's tough. It's bad. FAU couldn't cover the 4. They lost outright. That was bad. That defense was bad. But this week, I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. This lock, hammer it. Hammer this lock. This is another 5-star white whale play. Air Force minus 17. Air Force ran for 582 yards last week. Granted, they played Northern Iowa. This week, they're playing Colorado. What did Colorado do last week? They left 275 yards on the ground to TCU. Most of those rushing yards came from their quarterbacks. Air Force is going to run that triple option, and they're going to shred Colorado. Just absolutely tear them up. If Stroud plays quarterback for Colorado, maybe they'll put up 2 touchdowns. I think that Air Force puts up 40 points. I think they win this game like 42-14. Air Force minus 17. By that half point, you'll thank me later. You don't even need it. Actually, you know what? 17.5. Take it to 20, whatever. But the lock is 17. That's the lock. Air Force minus 17. It's happening. I'm going to be 1-1 in locks this week. It's happening.
I freaking love it. I love Air Force. Since we're now just talking about the game, I also have Colorado under 14. That offense is
it's bad.
It's so bad you can't even say a word. You just have to make a face.
Yeah, it's a little puke noise.
Yeah, but yeah, I love that. Air Force should literally kill them. Like, it's just why Colorado is so bad.
You want to go? You said you had UVA, Illinois. That was your game for your lock.
So going back to Champaign, I love, which I don't know how much you guys are going to like this. I love this under. I got it at 57. I don't know what other places have it at right now. Virginia was very unimpressive against Richmond last week. Richmond's a solid FCS team. Going from a solid FCS team to playing Brett Bielema in Illinois is a different freaking animal. Illinois got a very good secondary. They're going to be able to stop the pass pretty well. Not fully, but you can't expect someone to fully stop the pass. Illinois got a very good run game with Chase Brown. Virginia is going to have a tough time stopping. I think Illinois is going to be able to take the clock. This is a game I see finishing 28-20, and I actually do like Illinois in this game. I think Illinois is the perfect counter to Virginia. Granted, I thought Georgia State was the perfect counter to South Carolina last week, but South Carolina also decided, you know what, Shane Beamer, we're going to pop out Beamer ball and block 2 punts. So I blame their head coach being the son of Frank Beamer, and I will take the under 57. I lean Illinois with the points, but this is my official play is the under 57.
My lock, gonna stay in my home state right here because it's kind of my home state, kind of not. But that Houston Texas Tech first half over 31.5. There's absolutely nothing you can do to convince me that this game's only going to be like 17-14 at halftime. But this is going to be all guns blazing. Absolutely love this in terms of through the air. Texas Tech historically always puts up among the worst defenses in the country, especially in the secondary. Houston, their concerns in the secondary only prove me right. It's still a very young secondary. Javarius Owens at safety. I really like him, but he was caught out of position quite a few times. I love this over. I think both of these receiving cores, Zach Kitley, I think he's going to be mouthwatering whenever he watches Houston's defense on film last week against UTSA. Clayton, Tank Dell, Joseph Manjack, he's finally getting the groove in the system. Matthew Golden, people are absolutely loving him in UH's fall camp. Perfect. I love this. This could literally be 24-20 at halftime.
My lock is also a first half play, and it's someone that I swore off betting. Now, granted, I am betting against them, but I swore off betting against Hawaii. The first half is Michigan minus 30.5. So it's a lot of points. But luckily, Michigan is starting J.J. McCarthy this week, who I think is their better quarterback. I think he's better than Cade McNamara. He looked good last week. Cade's more of the move the ball slowly down the field. J.J. McCarthy's going to be your bigger play guy. So I think he's going to put up some plays. I think Michigan's defense is going to turn Hawaii over multiple times. Their QB's thrown 4 interceptions in the first 2 weeks. That number's only going to go up from here. So I think they're going to turn them over a few times, get some short field. J.J. McCarthy is going to be able to put up 35 in the first half, and we're going to be out of here. So I have minus 30.5 for Michigan in the first half.
So, yeah, those are our locks. You got our whole board, all of our picks. We'll tweet those out. Shout out Tally Site for letting us do that. Yeah, that's our week 2 show. You can follow us at Transfer Portal CFB. This will be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram. Please be nice to me on TikTok. I don't know who's I'm just going to put it up, but be nice. Let's win some money. Thanks for watching and listening.